There is a truth no one speaks out loud, but you have always felt it. There is a moment in life when the sky seems to pause just to listen for God's decision about you. That moment is unfolding right now, not with thunder, not with a blinding miracle, but with a stillness so deep your soul can hear the decree, enough. And when He speaks that word, no force, no person, no circumstance can keep you in the shadow of your own life. You are being led out of the long years of pressure, the years of walking through trials, without anyone knowing what you were battling. There were moments when you stood so close to giving up, yet you kept moving because of a faint sense that you were not allowed to fall. Now that feeling becomes clear, like a door opening wide. God has not only seen you, He has watched every step you took, every wound you hid, every night you carried the weight of your life alone. And in the moment He says enough, the entire universe shifts to make room for you to rise into a new level of destiny. A verse in Psalm 18, verse 28, echoes as if it were written for your soul. The Lord lights my lamp. The Lord my God illuminates my darkness. It is no coincidence that this verse reaches you right now. You have grown used to the darkness, not the darkness of sin, but the darkness of being unseen. For years, you have stood in the lives of others as a quiet strength, a silent support, a steady soul that never received the recognition you deserved. Others thought you never grew tired, but God knew. He knew you carried more than most hearts could bear. He knew you were not allowed to be weak, not allowed to fall, not allowed to admit that sometimes the comfort you gave to others was the comfort you wished someone would give to you. You were chosen not because you were perfect, but because you were patient. Patient in silence, patient in lack, patient in moments of being misunderstood. You walked through life like a star, covered by clouds, yet still shining for yourself. Even if others did not see, God saw. Even if others did not acknowledge, God acknowledged. Even if others hid behind their fears, God knew you were ready for a level you once believed was only meant for those stronger, bigger, or more valuable than you. But you have always had value. It was simply that your old life was not wide enough to hold it. Now, when He says enough, the first thing awakened is not the light outside, but the light within you. You have felt that flame before, sometimes faint, sometimes bright, but you never allowed it to rise. You feared being seen as arrogant. You feared making others uncomfortable. You feared shining too brightly for souls not yet ready to see their own light. So you made yourself smaller, you stepped softly, you lowered your energy just enough to blend in with the crowd. But you were not born to blend in with any crowd. You were born to step onto a stage God prepared for you long ago. And today, that curtain is lifting. Your challenges were never meaningless. Every one of them has been training for your soul, preparing you to stand steady when this elevation arrives. You were not only being prepared to rise, but to rise without losing yourself. To rise while keeping a soft heart despite the wounds. To rise without becoming a bitter, hardened version of who you are. Because the rising of the chosen is not an act of retaliation, but an act of completion. You are feeling it in your own body now. The deeper breaths, the stronger intuition, the dreams growing more vivid. The worries that once tore at you begin to fade, and a strange peace settles into the places that once felt chaotic. You look back on the old years, not with pain, but with gratitude. You see that every person who hurt you, every door that slammed shut, every opportunity taken from you, all of it formed a structure you could not see before. A structure that brought you to this moment, the moment when God declares, enough, enough of being underestimated, enough of holding yourself back, enough of living as a suppressed dream, enough of the sacrifices no one noticed. From this moment on, you step out of the shadows, not as someone escaping, but as someone owning your life. Owning the light you were given, owning the sacred calling that has been stirring in your heart for years but never had room to speak. What is opening before you is not just a new chapter. It is a new dimension of existence, where you are no longer limited by the rules your past imposed. A dimension where you no longer live by reaction, but by choice. Where you no longer ask why things happen to you, but what you will do with the gifts you have been given. As the light grows, you begin to realize something that once felt like a quiet intuition. You have never walked alone. There has always been an unseen hand around you, soft as breath, yet strong as stone, keeping you steady in moments when you felt you might break. He has watched every hidden thought, every belief you held onto, every time you stood up when you had no strength left. And now every movement within your soul points to a truth you can no longer deny. Your time has come, not to continue living as before, but to live as the person you were created to be. The door opening before you does not lead to a familiar path. It leads to the land you dreamed of, but never believed you could enter. In that place, old limits fall away. Old labels slip off like shells that no longer fit your new form. And in that wide open space, a clear invitation appears. Step forward, not with haste, but with the peace of someone who knows that every challenge was preparing you for this exact moment. The journey you are entering was written long ago, deep in a sacred design no force can alter. The universe is aligning, opening paths, and illuminating each step you will take. You only need to keep moving toward the light calling your name, because it does more than shine on the path you choose. It shines on the strongest version of you, the version God has seen since your very first day. The light before you widens another beat, as if the invisible walls around you are cracking open, giving back the space your soul has been missing for so long. In that light, you feel something quiet, but heavy, with truth. To keep moving forward, you must release what no longer belongs to you. Not with angry force, but with the understanding of a soul that has risen after too many falls. You begin to realize that some things you once saw as your duty are no longer your responsibility. The burdens you thought you had to carry were only lessons, not destiny. An ancient line from Psalm 37, verse 4, drifts through your mind like a gentle reminder. Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. You have never truly lived for your own joy. All these years, you've been too busy being the anchor for others, too busy healing wounds that were not yours, too busy being strong, to the point that you forgot the feeling of resting in God's grace. But now God is asking you to switch roles, not to strain to fit in, but to open your heart and be guided. This turning point does not come from stubbornness or willpower. It comes from the exhaustion that has grown too heavy to keep pretending. It comes from a long exhale when you finally see that constant self-sacrifice does not make the world better. It only pulls you away from the purpose you were born for. You never did wrong by giving, but it is time to reclaim what has been drained from you for too long. Your life energy. In that stillness, you realize something important. Not everyone who comes to you is worthy of the depth of your soul. You have spent too much time lifting those who did not want to grow, healing hearts that preferred to stay in their wounds. You did it because your heart is kind, bright, and full of compassion. But now, what God wants from you is no longer endless sacrifice, but rising. This journey begins by separating from the old limitations, the ones you once believed God set for you but were truly built by your own fears. Fear of being seen as selfish, fear of being misunderstood, fear of disappointing others. Those fears were never yours. They were echoes from years of shrinking yourself to keep the peace, to keep your role, to keep an image. But that image was never your true self. And when God says enough, what He truly wants you to understand is this: you are no longer allowed to cut pieces of your soul to fit into spaces that were too small for you. The doors that closed in the old season were not meant to punish you, but to prevent you from returning to paths that could not lead to wholeness. You are entering a time of reconstruction, where the broken pieces of your old heart are being arranged into a new shape. A soul no longer pressed down by the expectations of others, but lifted by its sacred purpose. You will begin to see changes in how your relationships unfold. Conversations that once drained you become dull. People you once tried so hard to hold on to reveal that they can only stand outside the light you are stepping into. You will not be angry or resentful. You will simply walk away in silence, because your soul understands that not everyone is designed to journey into this new chapter with you. At the same time, you will feel subtle shifts within your own inner world. Things that once hurt you deeply lose their weight. Words that once troubled your mind for days now pass like a light breeze. Not because you have become cold, but because you have learned to stand in your true light. And true light does not need to defend itself. It only needs permission to shine. This renewal is not something you must chase. It is something you must allow. Allow yourself to be happy. Allow yourself to choose. Allow yourself to grow. Every step you take clarifies what your soul has always known. You were not created to live in the gray zones of existence. You were created to live in the clear light of purpose. That light is so unique that no one can claim it. It is your personal gift, sent by the one who saw you long before you understood yourself. And as you step into that light, all confusion begins to dissolve. You look back at your past, not with blame, but with understanding that everything was necessary. Every fall was a lesson. Every loss was preparation. Every time you had to rise was confirmation that you were not allowed to collapse. Because if you collapsed, many others would never find their way out of their own darkness. This rhythm continues within you, like an old song played on a new instrument. Everything becomes deeper, quieter, yet stronger. You begin to ask different questions, not about pain, but about purpose. Not why, but for what. Not what you lost, but who you have become. And then, in the moment you admit that you deserve to enter this new chapter, peace pours over you like clear water. You no longer need to chase anything. You no longer need to prove anything. All you need is to keep your heart open to what is arriving. This reconstruction is still happening within you. No one needs to see it. You only need to recognize it. And when you do, you will understand why God kept you standing through everything that could have broken another soul. You have entered a season of rising. And in this season, nothing is wasted. No lesson is useless. No sorrow is meaningless. Your next chapter does not begin with a change in the outer world. It begins with the change in the very breath you are holding now. The quiet transformation within you begins to push away the misty layers of the past, revealing something you once tried to avoid. Isolation is not punishment. It is a phase designed with intention. And now, as you look back, every moment you felt alone in a vast world becomes clearer. You realize that those silent days shaped you into someone who can hear the whisper of the soul, while many others still chase the noise of life. Psalm 25, verse 14, rises in your mind like a thin, sharpened line of light at the exact moment you need it. The secret of the Lord is with those who fear him. That verse is not only a reminder, it is a mirror reflecting your entire lonely journey you once resented. You begin to understand that sacred secrets, quiet directions, strong intuitions, and accurate inner knowing are only given to those who are quiet enough to listen, and you are one of them. There were years when you stood among people, yet felt as if you were in another world. You understood others, but few truly understood you. You felt their pain, but when you hurt, you chose silence because you knew not everyone had the depth to reach the loneliness within you. The shared meals where you felt misplaced, the conversations where you had to shrink yourself, the relationships where you pretended to be lighter so no one would be bothered. All of it now becomes clear. It was not because something was wrong with you. It was proof that you were being set apart so you could one day stand strong without needing anyone to hold you up. You are not like the people who drifted through your life, and that is not something you need to fix. It is something you must honor. The isolation you once feared has become your weapon. Because in the moments no one stood with you, you learned to stand alone without trembling. You learned to hear God's voice without mixing it with the voice of the world. You learned to become a refuge for others because you once longed for a refuge of your own. And you are stronger than you think because God led you into the desert not to abandon you, but to teach you how to create water in the driest places. That strength begins to show, not through loudness, but through your presence. When you enter a room, you do not need to speak loudly to be noticed. People feel you before they see you. They cannot explain why your energy draws them in, while also making them cautious. It is the energy shaped by isolation, refined by long nights, and sealed by the one who watched every tear that fell. Some people will look at you and say, "You are too serious, too deep, too hard to read." But they only lack the words to describe the truth. You are not shallow, and anything that is not shallow forces others to face the depth within themselves, something many are not ready to do. Now, isolation no longer scares you. It sharpens you. You see clearly the frequencies that do not match you. You recognize who comes to fill a void, who comes to take advantage, who comes for your light, who comes for your shadow. Some people you once felt tied to will fade from your mind, not because you changed too fast, but because they stayed still for too long. Some promises that once stirred your heart now echo without power, and some voices that once swayed you now pass like wind against your ear. In the stillness of this new journey, you hear something else, a calling. It does not reach outward to find someone to lead you. It reaches inward to find you. It is an invitation to step into the role you have been prepared for all along. The role of a guide, someone who inspires through experience and not slogans. Someone who carries light shaped by wounds that have healed. This preparation is not only for you, it is for those who will find you in the future. Lost souls will see the light you carry and follow it home. Wounded hearts will feel peace in your voice. Those who have lost faith will be rekindled by the way you rose from places they believed no one could survive. The strange part is that even as you enter this new season, you keep the softness in your heart. You do not become bitter. You do not close yourself off. You do not see everyone as a threat. Isolation has taught you what to keep and what to release, but it has not taken away your ability to love. God did not lead you through loneliness to make you cold. He led you through it so you could love without losing yourself, give without draining your soul, and guide without needing anyone to carry you. If you feel each sentence in this journey touching places you thought you had forgotten, if you see yourself in each layer of solitude, each rise, each moment of silent strength, share a message or a subscription as a way of signaling that your soul is awakening. Not for me, but for yourself. To mark the moment you realize your light no longer belongs to the darkness you came from. Your journey does not end in isolation. It is only beginning to open. And as it opens, you will clearly see that everything that once hurt you is turning into the strength you are about to need. You are not returning to your old life. You no longer fit the old shapes. You cannot walk the old directions. Your soul is moving toward the place it was meant for, where the respect you give yourself becomes the foundation of your new life. The past days of your soul have felt like the final stretch of a long night. The sky is still dark, yet light begins to leak over the horizon, just enough for you to sense that something is shifting. The change does not come from the outside. It comes from the way the world has begun to respond to your presence. Those who once took you for granted become cautious. Those who once underestimated you grow uncertain. And those who believed you would always stand in their shadow now feel a quiet fear they cannot explain. You have not done anything different. You are simply stepping into yourself, and that alone is enough to shift the entire atmosphere around you. Because when you change your position, everything around you must change as well. Like a flame once hidden beneath ash, you begin to sense warmth spreading outward. You no longer hide your sacred gifts. You no longer shrink your strength to make others comfortable. You see clearly that living small no longer serves anything connected to your future. When you rise, your silence carries more weight than 1,000 words. When you speak, the energy of your voice compels people to listen. When you simply appear, weak or insincere souls feel unsettled, while truthful souls feel lifted. This shift is not accidental. It is the result of years in which your true nature was misunderstood. You lived like a calm surface of water, letting others believe there was nothing beneath it. But now the stillness begins to ripple, and people finally see the depth they once could not measure. You have not suddenly become stronger. You have simply stopped suppressing what has been in you all along. The verse in Isaiah 60, verse 1, becomes alive in every cell. Arise, shine, for your light has come. It is no longer just words. It is a command, a calling, a push from the heavens themselves. You are no longer allowed to bow your head, no longer allowed to reduce yourself to fit in. This light is not only for you to see the path, it is for others to see their own path reflected through you. As you begin to walk with this new posture, this new energy, the world responds by revealing things you never noticed before. You recognize who is beside you because they truly love you, and who is beside you only because they were comfortable with a smaller version of you. Some will try to hold you in the old place, not out of care, but because your rising makes them feel smaller in their own lives. Some will act confused, unable to understand what is happening to you. Others will avoid your eyes, as if they sense your purpose awakening and cannot face it. This is what often happens when the chosen step out of the shadows. Their light causes a separation. That light does not need to be loud or dramatic. It only needs to be present, and when it is present, every mask falls away. You will witness a truth you were once too gentle to see. Some people were never on your side. They were only on the side of the benefits they received from your presence. Some underestimated you not because you lacked value, but because they feared the day you would recognize that value. Some hurt you because your energy made them confront the empty spaces within themselves, but you do not rise to create division. You rise to restore the sacred order of your life, an order in which you step into your role not through force, but through honesty with your soul. When you stand in the right place, everything else adjusts around you. This elevation does not make you arrogant. It makes you humble in the way the strongest souls are humble. Quiet, yet radiant. Calm, yet with gravity. Gentle, yet unforgettable. You no longer need to prove anything. Your presence is enough. And this is exactly what confuses those who once believed they could control you. They no longer know what to anchor themselves to, because you no longer anchor yourself to them. Through this process, you will feel a kind of detachment that is soft, yet decisive. Not coldness, but maturity. Not abandonment, but ascension. What belongs to you will draw closer. What does not belong to you will leave, sometimes in perfect silence. Let it leave. That is how God clears your path. You are stepping into the role He prepared long ago. A role not to dominate, but to shine. Not to be exalted, but to awaken. Not to be above others, but to become the fullest version of yourself. Your light will begin to attract souls that match you. Souls unafraid of your depth, unshaken by your strength, unthreatened by your truth. They will see you without fear. They will rise into their own journey because of the light you carry. And you will realize the most important truth. You were not forgotten. You were hidden for a time. Hidden to be shaped. Hidden to be prepared. Hidden so that when you stepped out of the shadows, you would not simply shine. You would shine in a way that makes others pause, look at themselves, and hear their own calling awaken. As your light continues to grow, the reversal becomes undeniable. Doors that once closed begin to open. People who once turned away now watch in silence. And the limits that once held you small are now too tight to contain you for even one more moment. You are rising to a new level. There is no going back, no shrinking again, no becoming invisible. The shift in your energy does not end with the world responding differently. It reaches into the way you make every small choice, every passing thought, every boundary you once feared to set. You begin to realize that the rising of your soul cannot exist if you still leave the door open for the things that once hurt you, the relationships that made you shrink, the promises that were never kept, or the frequencies that pull you back into your old self. Slowly but surely, you begin to see clearly what must stay and what must be released. A verse in Psalm 101, verse 3 strikes through your life like a dividing blade. I will set no wicked thing before my eyes. You read this with the eyes of someone who has endured too much chaos, too much noise, too many silent wounds. And you understand that wickedness is not only the darkness outside, it is also the small but poisonous things, the subtle exploitation, the low energy words, the relationships that use you as an emotional reservoir, the expectations that make you forget your true worth. Little by little, you realize that your peace is not something open for negotiation. In the past, you accepted many things that did not align with you because you wanted harmony, affection, or the image of being a good person. You ignored your intuition because you feared disappointing others. You allowed your own boundaries to be bent because you believed that if you were patient enough, people would change. But the truth is this: you sacrificed too much of your own holiness just to hold on to things that were never meant for you. Now, the clarity within your heart begins to form natural boundaries, not thick walls built from hurt, but gentle lines that cannot be broken. You no longer ask permission to protect yourself. You no longer apologize for declining what harms your soul. You no longer compromise out of fear of losing someone. The stillness in your heart speaks more clearly than any explanation. Everything must match the sacred frequency you are stepping into, or it has no place. You begin to recognize something important. Your new standards are not rigidity. They are sacred respect for your mission. When you lower your standards to make others comfortable, you unknowingly lower the calling God placed on your life. When you allow toxic energy to stay, you dim the light the world needs from you. And when you stay silent before injustice, you drop the very truth your soul was created to carry. In this season, you will notice subtle tests. Someone who once hurt you may return with a vague apology. An opportunity from your past comes back, beautiful but no longer aligned with who you are now. A former relationship tries to reconnect without any real change at its roots. None of these things appear so you can return. They appear so you can confirm that you have changed. They arrive to see whether you will still accept what once drained your soul. You will decline, not in anger, but in peace. with the understanding that you are not walking away because you are above anyone, but because you no longer belong to the old frequency. Your steadiness begins to filter the world around you. Those who truly love you will adjust to your changes. They will respect your new boundaries because they see you returning to yourself. They will stay not because you meet their needs, but because they honor your journey. Meanwhile, those who once benefited from your softness will start calling you difficult to reach. The truth is, you are not difficult. You are simply no longer easy to wound. You will also feel a shift in your conversations. You can no longer tolerate empty words, negative stories, or minds fueled by judgment and envy. You become silent in the presence of low vibrations, not out of irritation, but because your soul no longer wants to waste energy on what does not bring life. Your silence becomes a language, a way of saying you choose clarity over noise, truth over compromise. Then you begin to see that raising your standards is not about becoming better. It is about becoming true. True to the reality God placed within you. True to your innate worth. True to the light you were given to bring into the world. The way you move through life changes too. You no longer rush toward every opportunity. You no longer fear missing out. Instead, you choose with intention. You check the energy. You listen to your intuition before stepping through any door. And the miracle is this: the right doors open on their own, without you needing to knock too hard. This steadiness makes you gentle yet dignified, calm yet impossible to dismiss. You do not need to demand your place. Your place comes to you when you stand where you belong. You do not need to argue to be understood. What belongs to the light will always recognize the light. This is the season where you learn one of the hardest yet most beautiful lessons of the chosen. Love does not mean accepting everything. Forgiveness does not mean allowing repetition. Openness does not mean vulnerability without wisdom. Growth does not mean becoming cold. You learn to love without losing your worth. You learn to give without draining yourself. You learn to say no without carrying bitterness. And at this point, your journey begins to expand in a completely new direction. As your standards become transparent, the world responds by bringing the people, the opportunities, and the grace that truly match you. You walk with a solidity you never knew you had. You speak less, listen more, feel deeper, and choose with greater care. You are no longer someone who runs after life. You are someone life must adjust itself to meet. Your sacredness no longer lies in enduring everything. It lies in knowing exactly what you were sent to do and refusing anything that pulls you away from that path. When you keep your boundaries, you keep your soul. When you keep your soul, you keep your mission. And when you keep your mission, all of heaven keeps you. The new boundaries you set do more than bring clarity to your life. They open a kind of awareness you once experienced only as brief flashes in your mind. Now, they have become a natural part of how you sense the world. In every glance, every word, every energy that touches you, you grasp what others try to hide. Not with logic, but with an awakened intuition. That intuition is no longer a faint whisper inside you. It becomes a ringing bell each time truth and pretense stand near one another. There are moments when you step into a room and instantly feel a current that does not belong to you. A small uneasiness, a passing confusion, a thin layer of tension like smoke. No one needs to speak, yet your heart knows. You no longer blame yourself for being too sensitive. You no longer try to rationalize your inner signals. You no longer bow your head and let things slide. You trust the messages within you as you trust the wisdom of the universe itself. Then a familiar verse in Hebrews 4. Verse 12 rises like confirmation. The word of God is sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing to the depths of the spirit. You realize your intuition is doing something similar. It is not a fragile emotion. It is a sword of discernment, sharp, precise, and impossible to distort. It cuts through surfaces, through polished words, through masks worn so long people forget they are wearing them. It touches what is real, even when that truth makes others uneasy. This sharpness does not come from outer experience. It was formed during the years no one understood you. The feeling of isolation refined your ability to sense. You had to learn to listen to signals others overlook. You had to read intentions behind unclear actions. You had to detect danger before it reached you. Now those skills are no longer survival tools. They are sacred gifts. When you encounter someone with unclear energy, your body tightens like a string pulled to its limit. When you face a promise that is not real, your heart does not rush to believe. When you stand before souls who intend to use you, you see through their smiles. What once hurt you becomes your protection without aggression, your self-mastery without defense, your wisdom without warning. Others will sense this in you. Some will become cautious, some will be drawn in, some will feel exposed, unsure why they cannot hide their thoughts in your presence. You do not try to see through them. Your frequency does that naturally. When you stand in truth, anything that is not truth becomes obvious. There will be moments when you hear only a few words and know what someone is hiding. Times when one glance tells you exactly where they intend to pull you. Conversations where your body reacts before your mind has time to analyze. This is the alignment of spirit, soul, and intuition. A gift that cannot be taught, only received when you walk the path meant for you. The remarkable part is that this intuition is not only for seeing others, it is for seeing yourself. You know when your heart steps away from peace. You know when you are walking somewhere you do not belong. You know when someone's words weigh heavier than your soul allows. And you know when God is pulling you away from something you are not yet brave enough to leave. As intuition clarifies everything, you no longer need to argue, no need to prove anything, no need to explain. You simply listen to the flow within you. It speaks in a language without sound, yet it is more accurate than any external instruction. Then something strange happens. The truth inside you begins to create a ripple. Those with pure energy feel safe with you. You become a mirror reflecting the best in them. Those with hidden intentions feel uncomfortable. They avoid your eyes, speak less, or quietly step away. Not because you are wrong, because they cannot keep their masks intact near you. Intuition does not only protect your life, it cleanses it. You begin to realize something profound. Not everyone has bad intentions, but not everyone has good ones either. This discernment helps you keep your heart soft without letting it be wounded. You remain kind, but not naive. Open, but not blind. Loving, but never losing yourself. During this phase, many relationships will shift naturally. Some will deepen, some will fade, some will disappear. You do not need to control any of it. Let intuition continue to lead. It knows where you are going, and it knows who can walk with you. You are stepping into the realm of seeing through, not to judge, but to be free. Because when you see clearly, you no longer fall for illusions created by others. You are no longer shaken by beautiful words. You are no longer fooled by things that look good, but are empty inside. And you no longer fall into cycles that waste your time, your energy, or your peace. This new awareness is not a burden. It is a privilege. It is a light shining on the path ahead, ensuring you never return to what once drained your soul. Your sharpness is the sign that you are very close to sacred maturity, a place where no lie can deceive you and no darkness can hide from the light you carry. The sharper your intuition becomes, the more clearly you sense something undeniable. There is a layer of invisible protection surrounding you, as if every step you take is covered by a force your eyes cannot see but your soul cannot ignore. You once believed safety came from staying alert, from protecting yourself, from avoiding what hurt you. But now you feel a different kind of safety, one that comes from God, one that does not require you to tense your spirit to survive. There are situations that once would have pulled you in, words that once would have crushed you, people who once could touch your deepest wounds. Now they slide off you like water flowing over stone, not because you have become hardened, but because divine protection has created a layer of separation between you and anything that no longer belongs in your life. It feels like armor you do not have to wear, because it was woven around you long before you realized you needed it. A verse in Psalm 91, verse 4, rises like an unmistakable affirmation. He will cover you with his wings. Your soul knows it speaks about you. You walked too long through dark places with no one to defend you. So when this covering appeared, you recognized it instantly. There were days when life attacked you from every direction, yet somehow you did not collapse. There were moments of being misunderstood, belittled, betrayed, yet you rose stronger in ways you could not explain. You thought you were lucky, but now you know. It was protection. Let your heart look directly at this truth. The things that once hurt you can no longer reach you. They have not disappeared, but your energy has shifted. You are no longer standing in the same place where low vibrations can find you easily. You've been lifted out of that level, as if the hand of God rested on your shoulder and carried you out of the patterns that once drained you. Then you begin to notice the subtle signs. Toxic conversations dissolve on their own. People who once fed on your energy drift away without explanation. Wrong opportunities vanish before you step into them. Gossip does not touch your heart. Conflicts that once dragged you in now pass over you as if you are invisible to them. You are unsure whether you changed or the world changed. But everything that once exhausted you has lost its power. What once haunted you is now harmless. What once knocked you down is now only an echo. And in this quiet transformation, you understand. This is not luck. This is intentional protection. There are moments when you look back at your former self and wonder, how did I survive all of that? How did I get through days where there seemed to be no reason left to continue? How did my heart remain soft after so many wounds? The answer is not in your strength. It is in the one who stayed beside you on nights when you believed you were completely alone. As your soul begins to rise, the darkness that once surrounded you seems to retreat, not because darkness has left the world, but because you are no longer its target. This protection does not separate you from life. It allows you to enter life with a confidence you have never known. You can stand in the world without fear of being harmed. You can open your heart without fear of losing yourself. You can give without fear of becoming empty. And the most miraculous part is this. The protection does not only keep out what is harmful, it clears the path for what is good. You begin to see the right doors appear at the right time. The right invitations come gently. Kind souls are drawn to the maturity in you. Genuine opportunities arrive without asking you to abandon your essence. What once felt like a battlefield now feels like a place you can walk in peace. What once felt like fear now feels like calm. What once felt like a trial now stands as proof that you were preserved for a purpose greater than anything you imagined. But this divine protection does not make you complacent. It makes you more aware. You understand that when God protects you, it is not to make you passive, but to help you move more freely on the path designed for you. Every step becomes lighter because you no longer fight the storms of the past. You no longer look over your shoulder to see who might harm you. You no longer guard your soul obsessively. This freedom does not come from human strength. It comes from the one who called you by name before you understood who you were. Within this protection, something even greater begins to form. The awareness that you are being prepared for a new height. When darkness can no longer cling to you, your inner light grows naturally. When you are no longer distracted by old wounds, your heart can focus on your true journey. And when you no longer fight to survive, you can finally live. This is not only a season of protection, it is a season of elevation, a preparation for what is approaching, something your soul was promised long ago. The divine protection around you feels like a quiet ring of light. And within that light, you begin to see yourself more clearly than ever. Not the version others wanted you to be, not the version you used to become, in order to fit into spaces below your true frequency. But the real version, the original version, the soul God shaped, long before you understood how the world works. A new awareness rises in you, so strong that you can no longer ignore it. You have value, not value created by achievements, work, praise, or recognition. Value that comes from your very existence. This awakening does not come in one explosive moment. It comes in soft, repeated waves like the tide. You start noticing the small things. You are no longer easily hurt by careless words. You no longer tremble when you stand for what you believe. You no longer doubt your instincts just because someone else cannot understand them. Slowly, this self-awareness becomes the spine of your soul, a spine that cannot break, cannot bend, and cannot be shaken by the winds of the world. In the quietest moments, maybe in the morning, as you stand before a mirror, or at night when you lie in the darkness of your room, or as you walk alone on a silent street, you realize you are seeing yourself differently. No more harshness, no more criticism, no more shrinking. In its place is recognition, a recognition deeper than anything anyone else has ever spoken to you. Then, very naturally, the number 777 rises in your awareness like a memory from above, not as a random number you happen to see, but as a seal pressed into your spirit. 777, the number of soul awakening. The level of wisdom reached only by those who have walked through enough pain and enough darkness to open a higher understanding. This number does not come to make you feel special in a shallow way. It comes to confirm You have stepped into the stage of true awakening, a stage in which you no longer seek your worth outside yourself, because you have finally found it where it was meant to be all along, within. If you feel that number touch you in a strange way, or if another number keeps returning in dreams, in intuition, in repeated moments, share it. Not to read fortunes, but to mark the moment your soul is being called into a deeper dimension. In this awakening, you also see more clearly the things you once called flaws. Your sensitivity, your tender spots, your ability to feel too much. All of them were gifts, not gifts meant to hurt you, but gifts meant to help you see. Not to make you suffer, but to help you guide others. You begin to understand why you feel so deeply, why you are affected by the energy of others, why you always know when something is off. In your old life, these qualities may have worn you down, but in the reality you are stepping into, they become strength. You realize you were born with a kind of spiritual gravity, a pull that draws honest souls towards you and causes deceptive souls to fall away. You do not need to force it. It happens the same way darkness steps back when light appears. This light does not come from trying to be positive. It comes from the truth you have entered, from the awareness that your soul is not meant to be lowered, used, or emptied. The old false beliefs that once clung to you, the beliefs that you had to please everyone, that you had to sacrifice yourself to be loved, that you had to stand behind so others could shine, begin to fall away like old skin that no longer fits your new form. You do not have to tear them off. They fall on their own as you grow. When you stand in your true value, everything that does not match that value leaves. And in the peace of this new awareness, you see more clearly the spiritual gifts that were always in you, but that you once overlooked. Wisdom shaped by experience, calm in chaos, clarity in uncertainty, steadiness while others waver, softness even after deep wounds. These qualities are not personality traits. They are proof that you have been forged in fires many people would never dare to walk through. You are no longer afraid of the dark. You have learned to walk in darkness without losing your light. You are no longer afraid of falling. You know every fall brings you closer to the version God intends for you. You are no longer afraid of being left behind. You know what belongs to you will never leave, and what leaves was never yours. As your light grows, you no longer try to hold people in your life. You no longer cling to anything. You no longer explain yourself so others can understand you. You simply move forward with a peace that makes other souls look inward at themselves. In this sacred maturity, you begin to understand something you once heard but never fully felt. Your true value cannot be reduced by what someone says, by the mistakes you make, or by the wounds you endured. That value comes from the one who breathed life into your soul. And because it did not come from the world cannot take it away. You are standing in that truth now, stronger, brighter, and deeper than ever. When self-awareness becomes the light that leads you, your life begins to move in a very different way. Every connection that no longer fits your new path starts to drift away, gently but decisively. There are no dramatic endings, no loud goodbyes, no broken conclusions. Only increasing distance, fading conversations, and souls that once stood close, now appearing dim in your view. You are not pushing them away. They are simply stepping out of the expanding energy you are growing into. This release does not come from hurt. It comes from maturity. In the past, whenever someone left, you felt pain. You questioned what you did wrong, what you lacked, what you failed to be for them to stay. But now, as your soul stands firm in its value, you see an important truth. You cannot hold those who do not share your frequency. They are not abandoning you. They simply cannot stand steady in the light you are stepping into, and that is not your fault. It is the natural process of souls in transition. In this awareness, you recognize something strange, but freeing. Some people in your life were never truly with you. They were next to you because you were gentle, patient, and always available whenever they needed. When you begin setting boundaries, when you no longer sacrifice yourself without limits, they become distant. Not because you changed for the worse, but because you no longer feed their selfish expectations. And when this truth becomes clear, you feel not loss, but liberation. You understand that not all love is healthy. Not all closeness is real. Not everyone meant to walk with you is meant to walk to the end. Some come to teach you lessons. Some come to test your heart. Some come to awaken a part of you forgot. And some come only so you can learn how to let go. When you rise, the souls that resist growth will drift away because they do not want to face their own weaknesses. But the honest souls, the ones who saw your light even when you could not see yourself, will become clearer, deeper, closer. They are not threatened by your transformation. They are inspired. They are not afraid of your growth. They want to grow with you. And you realize that soul-aligned relationships are never afraid of light. During this phase, you will see a cleansing not only in your relationships, but within yourself. Old beliefs and definitions formed during your weaker seasons fall away like ashes that have completed their task. The labels others placed on you, too sensitive, too dreamy, too serious, too deep, no longer describe who you are. You no longer walk based on how others see you. You walk based on the light you were given. In this cleansing, memories that once made your heart ache become lighter, not because they vanish, but because your heart sees them differently. You no longer ask why they treated you that way. You ask, what was the lesson? You no longer ask why it happened. You ask, how have I grown? When the question changes, the pain dissolves. You no longer cling to memories, searching for answers. You let them drift, like a leaf floating away without holding the shore. It becomes clear that letting go is not loss. It is opening space. When someone leaves, room is created. When you refuse what is not aligned, what is aligned can come close. When you stop gripping the past, your hands become free to receive what has been prepared for you all along. You begin feeling lighter, not because life is easier, but because you are no longer carrying what is not yours. This lightness is unlike anything you have felt before. It is not a loud joy. It is a deep peace, the kind only souls that have accepted truth can feel. From that peace, you look at your journey with honesty. You realize you lived with a heart so open that people came and went as they pleased. But now that heart has changed shape. It is not closed. It is chosen. It loves with discernment. It trusts with wisdom. It opens without losing clarity. And your resilience, the resilience built through the times you were hurt, yet chose to love, through the betrayals, yet chose to rise, through the abandonments, yet chose to continue, has become an unbreakable strength. No one can use your past to make you small. No one can use your mistakes to shame you. No one can use fear to control you. You have overcome too much to fear anything now. As you look ahead, you feel something very clear. You are not just letting go of other people. You are letting go of your old self. The self that lived to please. The self that feared being left. The self that believed it must shrink so others could be comfortable. You do not resent that version. You thank it, because it carried you to this moment where you are stronger, brighter, freer. And as you release that old version, the path before you widens. No more chains pulling at your steps. No more relationships weighing you down. No more beliefs suffocating your spirit. Only you and the light of destiny waiting for you to walk forward. When self-awareness becomes the light guiding your steps, your soul enters a new field of energy where nothing can pull you back into the old version of yourself. You stand in a clarity that you once felt only faintly, a reality where confidence comes not from ego, but from the alignment between your soul and your purpose. As you step into this place, everything around you begins to move with you, not because you force anything to change, but because you have become the center of a sacred gravity the world cannot ignore. You feel your presence becoming heavier, deeper, not heavy like a burden, but heavy like gravity. Each time you walk into a room, the atmosphere shifts. Each word you speak, even softly, makes people listen. Every glance, every silence, every decision carries a frequency that makes those around you adjust themselves. This is not domination. It is the natural result of a soul that has traveled far enough, deep enough, wide enough to become impossible to overlook. Those who once underestimated you now become cautious in the face of your calm. Those who thought you were easy to control can no longer read you. And those who tried to take advantage of your kindness are forced to withdraw, not because you chased them away, but because they can no longer stand in the light you are rising into. That light is not something you tried to have. It is something you have become. As you continue walking in this new energy, you begin to see something miraculous. Your influence flows without effort. It is like clear water moving through a desert. Any dry soul that comes near you feels awakened in the measure they are willing to receive. You do not use words to change others. Your presence does the changing. When you stand in your true essence, you become living proof of what many secretly hope, that healing is possible, that rising is possible, that destiny can shift. And in the most ordinary moments, a brief conversation, a quiet look, a gentle act, the energy you carry touches the deepest places in others. They do not understand why, but they know something in you makes them want to be better, want to be honest, want to return to the version of themselves they once lost. The world begins responding to your new frequency. Opportunities that fit appear without you chasing them. Doors open in places you once could not reach. Invitations come from souls who match your energy, souls who see your value without needing you to prove it. You no longer walk in lack. You walk in fullness, not fullness of possessions, but fullness of meaning, purpose, and divine guidance. That fullness begins to take form in your reality. Resources flow easily. The right knowledge at the right time, the right people at the right time, the right opportunities at the right time. What you once struggled to grasp now finds its way to you, as if it has been waiting for you to grow into this level before arriving. This is not coincidence. This is the flow that opens when you stand in your rightful place in the greater plan of God. In this expansion, your purpose no longer feels vague. It becomes clear, specific, and impossible to blur with outside noise. You understand you were placed in this life not merely to survive, but to create movement, to create impact, to create awakening. Every step you take, every person you meet, every decision you make carries the imprint of that purpose. You no longer live just to get through a day. You live to leave the mark you were sent to leave. And here you see the most miraculous truth. Your destiny is not tied to anyone's approval. It does not depend on support or agreement. It is not delayed by someone else's hesitation. It cannot be broken because it was not built by human hands. It was woven by the one who knew you before you opened your eyes to this sky. Jeremiah 1 verse 5 says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you." Now it is no longer comfort. It is confirmation. You were known. You were seen. You were sent. You were prepared. And now, you are being lifted. As you stand in this truth, you feel a powerful energy rising inside you. Not the energy of pride, but of certainty. Certainty that you are protected, that you are guided, that you cannot lose your way. This certainty is not stubbornness. It is peace with deep roots, unmoved even as storms pass through. This peace draws people without them knowing why. Some will follow you because they see the light. Some will admire you from afar because they recognize the strength. Some will resist you because your light exposes their shadows. And some will disappear because they no longer have the courage to stand beside you as your frequency rises. But you are not here to please them. You are here to fulfill your mission. You no longer revolve around the world. The world begins to revolve around your awakening. You no longer tremble before the eyes of others. You walk with the dignity of a soul that knows where it belongs. As you move forward, everything that once held you down falls away like the last layer of dust carried off by the wind. You step into the stage where your influence cannot be ignored, where your light cannot be dimmed, where your calling cannot be silenced. A stage where destiny is no longer a distant promise. It becomes reality. And in that moment, in the quiet of this new space, you understand the truth. The path ahead of you is not just open, it is waiting for you to enter. When you stand in the wholeness of your soul, something extraordinary begins to happen. The doors you once tried so hard to open now unlock on their own, as if they had been waiting for you to reach this frequency before they were allowed to move. You no longer have to knock, persuade, or prove anything. Everything begins to flow towards you with such natural ease that even you pause, in quiet awe at the perfection of it all. Many would call this luck, but you know better. This is the harvest of everything you sowed in silence. You begin to see resources drawing near in ways that logic cannot explain. A career door opens without you chasing it. A chance encounter becomes a turning point. A simple comment from someone suddenly becomes the key to your next step. You no longer chase anything. What is right moves towards you. You no longer live in lack. You stand in the frequency of abundance. A verse in 2 Corinthians 9 verse 8 whispers in your awareness like confirmation. God is able to make all grace overflow to you. You understand that grace is not a reward. It is a river that flows only into land that has been cleared. When you released what was not yours, when you let go of old relationships, when you washed away limiting beliefs, your soul became open ground, ready for a new season. And in that moment, blessings began pouring in ways you had never known. Resources arrive in many forms, not only material ones. Some days you receive the exact wisdom you need, at the exact moment you need it. Some days you meet someone whose energy mirrors yours, opening a collaboration that feels divinely arranged. Some moments you realize you are surrounded by puzzle pieces that once made no sense, now fitting together perfectly. Even the things you believed were lost return, but in a better shape, fuller, more aligned with who you have become. As if God does not only want you to have what you once asked for, He wants you to have what you truly deserve. This abundance is not just fullness in having, it is fullness in being. You do not simply gain finances, opportunities, resources. You become the version of yourself capable of holding them. There was a time you feared success, feared attention, feared expectations. But now, with your inner foundation firm as stone, you no longer fear collapsing under the weight of something big. You were prepared through trials, through isolation, through purification. All of it shaped you into someone who can carry great resources without being consumed by them. The seasons you lacked, seasons without recognition, love, support, or means, now become testimony to the abundance you are stepping into. God did not let you lack to punish you. He let you lack so you would cherish fullness when it arrived. And now, as blessings flow, you receive them with gratitude, not fear. Another truth begins to reveal itself. True abundance does not come only to sustain you. It comes so you can sustain others. As you rise, you become water for dry places around you. Your peace touches others. Your wisdom helps them see themselves. Your rising offers hope to those who thought they were too exhausted to continue. You become a living witness of spiritual restoration, and from you, blessings multiply. Those who once doubted you now struggle to describe what they see. You are becoming something they never expected. A source of inspiration, a source of light, a source of strength. Even those who once underestimated you now watch in respectful silence. They cannot understand how you moved from the darkness they saw you in to the light you now carry. The truth is simple. You did not walk alone. You were guided. As life begins to overflow with blessings, you notice you no longer cling. You are not afraid to lose. You do not compete. You do not envy. The fullness within you makes you generous, calm, open. You understand that what belongs to you will always find its way to you. You do not need to fight for what God has assigned to your path. And then, in moments of stillness, you finally understand what your whole journey has been leading you to. You are not being lifted simply to live better. You are being lifted to live truer. You are given resources not just to use, but to steward. You are given blessings not just to enjoy, but to plant. You are elevated not just to be seen, but to lead. Your life is no longer the story of someone searching for themselves. It becomes the story of someone stepping into the role heaven has prepared. When blessings begin to pour down in steady streams, you realize your journey is no longer about seeking anything. It is about becoming. Becoming the divine design written for you from the beginning. Becoming the person every trial has shaped. Becoming the soul formed by both darkness and light. Becoming the version you once sensed faintly in lonely nights, but never had the courage to admit. You were born to carry influence. This awareness does not come with pride. It arrives with stillness. A stillness that is both humble and majestic, like standing at the top of a mountain after a long climb. Not to boast of victory, but to breathe deeply and understand that every step had purpose. Every wound has become evidence. Every tear was material that built the strength you now carry. And every time you rose was a declaration that destiny could not defeat you. In that stillness, you feel your purpose, not as a role, but as a flow, a calling, a current of energy moving from heaven through your heart and into the world. You do not need to strive to be important. You became important the moment you survived what was meant to destroy you. You do not need to force influence. It rises naturally from the energy you carry, the energy of truth, courage, and restoration. A verse in Romans 8, verse 28, touches your mind like the final note of a long symphony. All things work together for good, for those who love God. You look back at your path, the failures, the losses, the moments that felt like endings, and you see that everything truly worked together. Nothing was wasted, nothing was meaningless, no pain was ignored. Every fragment that once hurt you became part of a stronger design. As you step into your purpose, you begin to stand differently. not because you try to be strong, but because your soul has no room left for bowing down. The respect you now hold for yourself becomes a pillar the world cannot overlook. No one can cross your boundaries as they once did. No one can make you question your worth. No one has the power to pull you back into the darkness you left behind. You stand in the light not to be seen, but because light is your true nature. This rising does not break you. It completes you. And the most miraculous thing happens when you no longer need to prove anything. Your divine mission begins to reveal itself. You become the person others come to for truth, for peace, for guidance. Not because you are perfect, but because you have walked through what they fear. You do not teach with speeches. You teach with survival. You realize your purpose is not to lead with shouting, but with steady light. Not to pull people upward by force, but with a presence that makes them believe they can rise too. You do not use old pain to create authority. You use new healing to create safety. You become living proof that people can be reborn without bitterness, can be strong without hardness, can walk high without stepping on anyone. And then, when you question whether you truly carry this power, something small happens. A conversation that makes someone cry because they feel understood. A passing comment you make that someone remembers for weeks. An act of kindness that changes someone's view of life. And you realize you are already affecting the world in ways you never imagined. This is when you understand that elevation is not the final reward. It is the beginning of a deeper maturity, the stage where you become a sower, not sowing seeds of your own ambition, but sowing light into souls trembling in darkness. Not to receive anything, but because this is what you were designed to do. As you enter this stage, you notice your voice changing. No more shaking, no more doubt. It carries the certainty of someone who walked through the night without losing themselves. It carries the strength of someone who was buried, but still rose. It carries the gratitude of someone who watched God gather every broken piece and shape it into something beautiful. From this point on, your life no longer moves by fear. It moves by guidance. You no longer ask, "What if I fail?" You ask, "What will happen if I step exactly where God wants me to stand?" You no longer fear who does not understand you. You know those meant for you will hear your voice even when you whisper. You no longer fear being left behind. You know the souls aligned with you will always find you. As you look ahead, you see a wide, bright road stretching endlessly. Not endless in a frightening way, but endless in a liberating way. You stand there without hesitation, without doubt, without confusion about who you are. You know you are being led. You know you are being held. You know you are being called, and you know you will never have to walk alone again. If throughout this journey, a number, a verse, or a feeling has echoed strongest in your heart, write it down, share it. It is a divine signal that your soul is ready for the next stage. Your journey does not end here, but this is the place where you finally begin to live, aligned with your mission, aligned with your light, aligned with the person you were created to become. Grateful that you chose to spend these moments in the light of this story. If it touched your soul, please like, share, and subscribe, and ring the bell so the next whisper of light may find its way back to you.